How the heck are you guys? We are getting a never before seen banner and a super duper powerful one at that in just a day and a half. And it is going to be this Frostfall Lucky Pick, where we have a rate up on a brand new single target mage who's very good, Lyra. And then what goes in this swirling vortex or rift over here, you get to choose what other hero is paired with her on the rate up. You can see the details right here. Commanders can select a hero, excluding lords and event-exclusive heroes, from the Invocation of Spirits pool to pair with Lyra in the rate-up pool. This is a crazy amount of customization and gives you a lot of control over maybe sniping a long-desired, long-needed hero for your account. And you better believe I am super prepared to help you guys. So this pool of heroes is enormous. It is 55 heroes. You can see it by going over here just to any normal rare summoning banner, and you can see it's from Zealous down to Tallulah. There are 55 heroes, and I went ahead and made an entire tier list of all of them. So we are going to go through that. You can see I have 7 different categories. These letters you see, the D through triple S, these do not directly correspond to the hero quality, but specifically to how good a choice this hero is to pair with Lyra on this crazy, crazy strong banner. Now, normally when I make tier lists like this, I use a website, tierlistmaker.com. We needed so many images with 55 heroes that it crashed on me so many times. I eventually just said, I have to suck it up and build the whole thing from scratch in Photoshop. So you can see tons of layers over there to my right. And then so many hero images I had to do over here. I'm blacking this out now because I want a couple surprises. This was a ton of work, which I say just to remind you, if you do like the video, please like it. And in general, if you like my content and how consistently I'm trying to give you quality content in this game, please consider subscribing to the channel. All right, without further ado, let's get this stuff open and let's go through our ratings. A full tier list ranking every single hero you could choose to pair with Lyra. Let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, guys, let's begin starting with our D tier. I want to get the D tier out of the way because it's very simple. Then we'll go to the triple S no-brainers and work our way down. But before I do that, I do want to say, in general, quite simply, I think 99, 98% of players should not be hunting awakenings with this banner. Obviously, if you have every single one of these heroes, then that's what you have to do if you want to use the banner. But go for new heroes. I think that's more powerful for your account, unless the only heroes you're missing absolutely suck. But, you know, a Silas Awakening for most accounts is not going to be as powerful as like a brand new Broke here. That's just true. You can approach it how you want. Those are my 2 cents. So again, reminder, these ratings you see here, triple S down to D, these do not correspond directly to hero quality. Obviously, there's a strong correlation, but it's more, and you'll see examples of this, more about how worthy a hero is to be paired with Lyra for this crazy banner. So our final worst tier, as you can see, from Abomination through Zealous, I'll read through all the heroes in a second. This is only for Nascent. So the only reason you would ever think to pair these heroes on the Lyra banner, which again, this choose your own adventure kind of banner, we've never seen it before. We don't know when it's coming again. It is so powerful and it could change your account in a really big way. You shouldn't settle for any of these heroes unless you kind of just have everything and maybe you're just missing like an Ajax or an Araka or a Venoma, Twin Fiend, someone from the Lord rate that's not included in this, and you want to snipe one of these guys potentially before we get the Divine Nascent banner coming. Because this is on the 22nd, the Divine Nascent banner is on the 23rd, so that's the only consideration. So you can see Abomination, Allura, Anai, Absin, Azor, Beatrix. Also, this is totally alphabetical. There's no priority here. Some of the categories you will see, I have very intentionally put them in a certain order. But let's continue. Calypso, Cratch, Edith, Kai, we say his name now, Kineza, Kriya, Lasir, Magmus, Orum, Razak, Seraphina, Shamir, and Zealous. These are the worst options in the game, in my opinion. Obviously, some of these heroes are solid in certain aspects in the game, but overall, there's no world. There's just no world you should be using this crazy opportunity the banner's giving you on these heroes. Next up, we have our triple S no-brainers. Before we do, though, a lightning quick ad. You can see this video is sponsored by Factor 75. This is a meal prep service where all the food comes fresh, delicious, and totally pre-made. You sign up as like a subscription for different boxes. If you're interested at all, the first box using my link, which we'll put in the description and the top pinned comment of this video, as well as a promo code if you want to use that, it's 50% off, free shipping. So normally this stuff isn't necessarily so cheap. I believe it comes out to like $12.50 per meal, but with all my discounts and the link, it comes out to like $6 a meal, and it is high quality food, very, very healthy, very, very delicious. So consider checking that out. It would help me out, but obviously no pressure at all. Let's go to our triple S no-brainers. So these three heroes actually are the three triple S rated options in this hero pool for this banner, like in terms of their actual hero quality tier ratings on my website, Fastidious.gg, and nothing really changes here. The order was very intentional, and I'll walk you through it. But in my opinion, this is the Lyra and Eloin banner. Eloin is the top choice you could ever pair with Lyra, unless you already have Eloin. But if you do not have her, there's not that much more to it. You can do whatever you want. But if you're watching this video for my advice and my tier ratings, it is 100% no-brainer. You have to do Eloin. I even considered doing a quadruple S category because I think she's even if you didn't have Eloin, Silas, or Hotsit, I think she's that much of a better choice than the other two. The other two are phenomenal choices as well. To explain why Eloin's so good, no one in the game can do like several of the things she can do, and she can do all of them, and she's the best at them. She will change your account more than anything. I've seen people comment on my videos, yeah, well, Eloin's nothing without DPS. There's like 40, 50, 60, 70 good DPS options for different content in this game. You'll get enough of that over time. There's only one Eloin. Ask any competitive endgame player, they will tell you. I am telling you. There's only one Eloin. She's the best hero in the game. Certainly the best available in this hero pool. I believe, full stop, it's her and Praetus, and gun to my head, I'd pick her over Praetus if I could only have one. And I only have her over Praetus anyway. So let's move on. Silas versus Hotsit. These are two triple S quality heroes. They are phenomenal. If you don't have either, you could be thrilled to get either. I was so close to putting Hotsit over Silas because for Silas to be better than Hotsit, you also need Virna, who's coming up soon, as you're going to see. But I do think you're thinking long term, right? You're thinking the big picture. To me, Silas is so irreplaceable for the quality of his single target platform DPS, and that is more valuable than burst and AoE and hybrid damage like what Hotsit does. What Hotsit does is, again, similar to Eloin, strictly unique. She's completely broken, overpowered. If you wanted to pick Hotsit over Silas, I wouldn't blame you for literally a second. This is such a toss-up to me. I just had to put one above the other. At the end of the day, I think, especially I was thinking for younger accounts for progressing, even an unbound Silas, an unbonded Silas, unbound, I think that's how you say it. It will help you a ton in every boss and all of Void Rift, clearing all of campaign. That is just huge. Excellent in Gear Raid 3, which is the real huge thing you want to hurdle. So is Hotsit, of course, but I just thought he got the slight edge. Hotsit is phenomenal. I think you reach a point in the game where if you have enough heroes, she actually becomes a little bit better than Silas, in my opinion. That's not something I thought I would ever say. But big picture, I do think overall, I still rate Silas above Hotsit. These three, though, very much in a tier of their own. So if you're coming here for my advice and there's one of these three you don't have, that is who you should pair with Lyra if you are going for this banner. Now let's go to double S. So double S is a rating I never use, but this is a different kind of list. These are absolute gems. So if you have Eloin, you have Silas, you have Hotsit, you really cannot go wrong with any of these three if you do not have them. And they are just so good. And I actually do have them in order for how important I think they are. And I'll explain that because I know a lot of people, their favorite hero is Hex. I love Hex. But to me, Constance and Arrogance deliver more big picture and also just for immediate progression to your account. And I'll explain why. So with Constance, she actually is, without Beelzebub, Bubba having entered the game, all else equal, perfect situation, awakenings, all that stuff. She is a better inspiration hero at this point than Dolores. That's not considering crazy stuff like one being a melee, one being a platform, Dolores being 5 cost, Constant being 18. But she is that good for inspiration. She can tank. She can heal. There's a lot going on there. She is now, with the enormous ascendance of Watchguard, becoming just one of the top couple factions in the game, which is hilarious because for the first 9 or 10 months this game existed, it was definitively hard stop the worst the game had to offer, maybe even a year. It wasn't really until like Lucius and then the buff to Leia and Ein and then Ingrid and all this stuff started coming. Constance is just phenomenal. As an arbiter, as a watcher, she's incredible. She's strictly unique. And I really just love her. I can't say enough about her. She completely cracks open a ton of content. The more I am doing these, I mean, I've always been doing these endgame takeovers, but the more I'm getting bored with them and trying out new things, the more I just find myself going to Constance every time in like things like Gear Raid 4, Gear Dungeon 1, basically any progression kind of thing, any Gear Raid. I can always find a space for her. She's that good, that incredible. If you don't have her, you want her, and she's rare. All these heroes are rare, so you're going to want to get her. I'll say actually really quickly to circle back, one consideration of hot sit over Silas, an extra consideration, and maybe go for her. She's the rarest non-Lord hero in the game outside of Ancients, right? She has her own rarity bucket. She's really hard to get, so if you don't have her yet, this would be an easier opportunity to get her. You're more likely to get Silas off banner than you are hot sit. So there's Constance. Arrogance I put above Hex, because quite simply, even at A0, he's a total killer, game changer, incredible, turns your account on its head kind of hero. You can take my word for it. He was like the 4th legendary on my account. I got him on day 15, I believe. And I had him A0 for over half a year. And he was like my best hero for so much content. He's amazing against bosses. He's amazing in PvP. He's amazing in PvE. He's very, very, very easy to use. He's not hard to build. He can do everything. He hits aerial units. He hits ground units. He does single target. He does multi-target, even a little bit of dot damage, damage over time kind of damage. He's just phenomenal. He's in the easiest to use faction in the game, I believe, Nightmare. So these are like the 3 heroes that if my triple S, if you don't know, for non-lords, we only include 5. So it's these 3 up. I'm talking about the tier list for quality. You'll see on my website. Elowen gets triple S. Silas gets triple S. Hotsit gets triple S. Ardia gets triple S, who's not available on this banner, and then Dolores. If it was 8, though, it would be these 8. If it was 6, Constance would be in there. If it was 7, so would Arrogance. And if it was 8, so would Hex. So Arrogance, I just think, is so flexible and will help you guys in such a huge way. If you don't have him, it's a huge time to get him, especially if you have Lust and you don't have him, or if you're planning to get Lust next time she comes around. Just a phenomenal, phenomenal hero who's always been amazing and has never stopped being amazing. If anything, he's gotten better as the game has gone on. Now we've got Hex. The consideration for Hex over Arrogance is there's just a million good fighters, but there's really none that have like the Arrogance range and can do everything and can hit aerial targets and are that powerful. So that's why Arrogance does get the bump. But if you did want to go Hex over Arrogance, and especially if you're willing to commit to grinding the heck out of stage 20 or 22 for AMR until you got his exclusive, then I could totally hear you on that. Because Hex without his exclusive is an excellent hero. Hex with his exclusive is a borderline triple S top unit in the game. He's phenomenal. It's a little weird that he does magic damage, but it really does work. He's, for a single target magic damage dealer, for a normal hero, he's the best in the game. He's got a very confusing kit, but if you can try to understand it like I do, or you can just turn your brain off and just let him rock. He's phenomenal. He's got very strong awakenings, so this is even a nice option to go for him for awakenings. We'll talk about those at the end. But all in all, Hex, we all know how good he is. He's phenomenal. Anything single target where you need a platformer, he's going to be right there. And especially as you get deeper into the game, he can even be better for certain things than Silas. Now, this next tier, these are still like S+ quality heroes, but they're not in these top trios of the no-brainers and then the absolute gems. These are our top tier options, assuming you had these other 6. We've got 7 heroes here. And again, I did put these ones in order. This is going to be the end of me putting things in order. I just thought with these first options, that's where we should really focus. You can see it goes Valkyra, Comet, Twyla, Boreas, Virna, Zela2, and Magda. I feel pretty happy about this one. Maybe there's a couple things I'll have to explain. These are all phenomenal heroes, so take this information as you need. Take a screenshot. These top 3 rows are who you should be pulling for unless you have all of them. I'm actually in a weird situation where I do have all of them, so we're going to talk about who I'm going to pull at the end. My account, for the normal heroes, my account has become very full. Valkyra is excellent. She's phenomenal in both her factions, amazing synergies as both a Northerner and an Arbiter. Her range is just very unique, very strong. They actually just buffed her, so she basically has constant magic vulnerabilities on any target in range. Very consistent, solid AoEs, always hitting a minimum of 5 targets. Her ult is just really, really, really powerful. over the course of a battle, her Sword of Victory passive is going to stack and stack and stack. Her attack goes to the moon. She gets better and better and better. She's so good for so many things. And then if you like PvP, she's just phenomenal. She's really, really pesky because even though it doesn't say it, during her ult, she can hit aerial units. So she's really tough in Guild Wars for Guild Wars defense. For Guild Wars offense, she has a ton of BP. I have her A5, so she's actually my #1 BP hero on my account, at least until I build my Uridan. Really, really, really great. And then for Arena, for even single target, but then especially AoE, she's so, so good. So AoE, you can pair her on like on any kind of Praetus team with an Arbiter Lord, or if you have Hearts, but especially Elder, you can get like her and Ardia going together on a Northerner team. That is great. Even in single target, she works awesome with Praetus, or if you're earlier on and you've got Elysia, that's a great choice. Valkyria, I almost actually put in this absolute gems tier. She's the definitive top choice of this next row, in my opinion. Love me some Valkyria. Next up, we've got Comet. To me, he's still the best AoE mage in the game. He's coded like a single target burst mage because that's what they think he is. But there's so much AoE in his kit that it just turns him into the biggest, blastiest AoE hero. He could be right there with Boreas or a totally decked out Virna who has like a built out exclusive and exclusive gear. But with all else equal, he really is the best, especially because he doesn't have anything conditional. Virna, to be at her strongest, there need to be enemies that are slowed or frozen or stunned. Boreas really needs enemies to be frozen. They keep adding new content where you can't do certain crowd control things. Comet doesn't need any of that. He just pops off like the king he is. Comet is amazing. Twyla is just that good at killing bosses. There's nothing more to say. The uptime on her bleed is insane. Her shredding defense penetrating damage is insane. For all the really hard stuff you might want help with boss-wise, and I value like guild bosses extremely high, she's like the key for so many accounts. So if you're stuck at like 40K guild boss 1, a Twyla and a little farming will get you 50K. If you're stuck at 50K and you want 80K for Apocalypse 2, I'm sure Twyla could do that. She's my top DPS. She's many, many top DPSs. And the only DPS comparable, for example, in Semra and Apocalypse 2 in the whole game is like Kagiri with many awakenings, and then now Sung Wukong with many awakenings. At A0 or even A1, and then certainly by A3, she just pops off. She is phenomenal. Her single target damage is truly insanity. I still do wish she had dual faction and Infernal. I think that would be a lot cooler. I also wish her base range was just 2 tiles in front. But, for what she is, she's perfect. Boreas is unbelievable. His anti-heal is very underrated. His freezes, once you get him A1, are really good. If you pair him with a freezer, his damage is crazy. The only thing kind of hamstringing him is that he needs freeze to happen to really be that good. And there's a lot of content now where enemies are freeze immune. But all in all, Boreas is still phenomenal, and I love him. Virna, if you don't have Silas, Virna is ahead of, if you have Silas but you don't have Virna, Virna is ahead of like so much of this. I actually would put her after Hotsit. So let's say you have Elwyn, you have Silas, you have Hotsit, and then you don't have any of these next 10 heroes. I would do Virna next because that's giving you the Silas bond skill. All while her herself, she's a very, very good AoE mage. She was like the top queen when she first came out. Then Comet got way ahead of her as new content came, and then Boreas got way ahead. Then there was a Boreas nerf, but there was a lot of other options, and Virna wasn't that exciting. However, her exclusive artifact is so powerful, one of the best in the game. Not hex level, because nothing is, but probably one tick below that. I'll have one of these tier lists for exclusive artifacts eventually, but Virna's exclusive, amazing. And now her exclusive gear and the Cultist faction exclusive gear, you can get her doing phenomenal things. So she deserves to be here as a hero, but if you have Silas and don't have Virna, she's even higher because she's going to be that great AoE hero for you, and she's going to unlock Silas from being a great single target piercer to the best insanity thing in the game because that bond skill is ridiculous. Zealot and Magda, I went back and forth, moving them who should be second to last and who should be last in this tier. I think you'll find more progression use cases for Zealot. Later on, I think a lot of people end up almost retiring Zealot, which is sad. So really, it depends on your kind of account. She is that good, though. She's so good against both guild bosses, especially Guild Boss 1, but she works really well for both. For any progression stuff like Void Rift and Campaign, she is phenomenal. She's also really good in some of the Void Rift epilogue stages. I used her everywhere except for the last two, the Tyrant one, where I really had to go heavy on the Nightmare. I did finally beat that, which is awesome. You can go check out that stream. That was my 500th day in the game. Magda, I think, has more valuable in the end game, but she's also going to help you progress like crazy. To me, just single target is more important than AoE. Cultist is an improving faction, but it's still one of the weakest, if not the weakest in the game. Infernal is a little off meta, but it's still stronger, so that's why she got the bump. And then Magda, her passive is crazy, her AoE is really good. There you go. So we can go a little bit faster now because now we don't need to really break down hero by hero. So this category is one you could do if somehow you had all these other heroes. These are fantastic heroes, and so is the next group. But the distinction here is when I say niche, it means they're specifically good at one thing. The reason I put them above these guys is because they're specifically really, really good at one thing, or in the case of some of these guys, a couple things. But they're not as like universal and incredible as the heroes above. So this time I did make one alphabetical change. So it should go Artemis, Pharisee, and then down the line as you see it. But the one ordering decision I made is I wanted Pharisee to go first because he's the greatest example of this category I created here. Essentially, he is required for top high-end Apocalypse 2 stuff. His passive, Sand Aegis, is so potent there. It is so good. So it's the kind of thing where it's like if you had a whole bunch of these guys up here, even if Pharisee's not the best quote-unquote hero in this category, if you had like all these guys or most of these guys, but then like you're trying to finally get 120k or 80k wherever you're at in the game, in Apocalypse 2, in Semra, Titanic Ruins, Pharisee is his value. So it becomes a whole separate thing. So that's kind of what this category is. So Pharisee is just phenomenal. He's a very good hero in general, but if you need help in Guild Boss 2 and you don't have Pharisee, he is that good. That passive is that good, and the rest of the kit is very fun as well for that. Very good hero. Artemis for Gear Raid 1 and Gear Raid 4, aka Gear Dungeon 1. He's become underrated. I think he's the best in the game at it. It's not close. He gets the heals out, he gets damage out, all while having like the best anti-heal you could imagine. It's really just him and Demi. Certainly the best of this whole normal group of heroes. He's just phenomenal. So that's a really nice option. But again, it's a very niche decision, and it is dependent on not having the things above in these 2 rows above us. Then we have got Lord Phineas. Lord Phineas is fantastic against the guild bosses. I find his extended range during the ult and from his passive not very helpful. He's really just good for single target bursts. If you don't have an A1, I don't even think he's that good in things like Arbiter of Frost, but if you do, he absolutely is. I find the synergy he has with his faction not nearly as strong as I thought it would be in terms of boosting the crit damage for everyone, just because crit damage, especially for harder content, is just not important in this game. But for progression, he'll help you a ton. Kind of depends on where you are in the game. But if you run an Infernal comp and you need help in Guild Boss 1 or Guild Boss 2, I think at this point already Phineas is underrated. I think Lord Phineas is just phenomenal there. Now we've got Lucius, who, interestingly enough, maybe is like the least niche here, which is kind of fun. Well, I don't know. There's Nyx and Cetrum too, but he's actually like not that niche. But he's just not broad enough to be worthy of the higher categories. Lucius' damage is crazy. It's really good. It's just very hard to control that demonic embrace and time it out with your inspiration heroes, for example. But he's very, very good in Guild Boss 1, especially now that Watchguard is becoming such a thing. Guild Boss 2, if you don't have Kagiri, this guy is unmatched with how powerful he is, right? He's like one little step below Pharisee in terms of importance. Kagiri reduced his importance, but he's still really, really good. I really like him to this day for Gear Raid 3. Too bad he doesn't have dual faction membership in the Piercers. That would just be the coolest thing ever. But very good in both guild bosses. Pretty solid in arena, like single target arena, and even anti-air. Will definitely fall off later on, but can help you guys progress. And I like him in Gear Raid 3 as well. Very fun hero. Now we got Nyx. Nyx is like, for what she does, she's the best in the game for AoE piercing damage. You just rarely ever need that. It's like Gear Raid 3 and Furious Torrent. I love it, but that's kind of all it is. She can be really good for AoE arena and for anti-air arena, but at this point, those strategies are off meta, even though they are really good. I don't think that's worthy of bumping her into a higher tier, but certainly she deserves to be here. Salazar, he's towards the end of this group. I'm not so nuts about Salazar. He's phenomenal for single target DPS. If you're missing some of the other key fighters, he's very good in Guild Boss 1 and Guild Boss 2. In terms of progression, he'll help you a lot. I did want to explicitly shout him out, though. He is a fusion now. So unless you want Awakenings or something, he just needs to be knocked down, or if you're desperate to get him and you're not willing to be patient for the fusion. But yeah, I want to make a point to say I think almost no one should be picking him, because he's basically free. If you're patient, you'll get him eventually from the new permanent fusion, or at least very lengthy fusion. It will go on for probably at least a year. there's just no reason to do it. But in terms of quality and how you could pair him, this is okay, but don't do it, please. Setrum has definitely become underrated. Setrum is amazing. No one will help. Maybe no hero can help your Guild Boss 1 progression more. And I'd say as you're progressing, nothing's more important than maximizing your Guild Boss 1 farming. That being said, they've added so many new heroes that he's definitely outpaced, and there's not really much shield content nowadays that we need him for. So for him, it's really just like Guild Boss 1 and then Styx, and then he's like phenomenal in things like Void Rift and more specific stuff. But even in the PvP stuff, I don't find him very good at all. So if you need help in Guild Boss 1 and you're progressing and you've got an Infernal team and you have a bunch of the other stuff above him, then absolutely go for it. He will help you in a huge way. Otherwise, though, I think it's a skip. Tallulah, getting very specific now. We're definitely going to talk about her a little later on in the video, so I'm not going to go into too many specifics now. But she is very good for PvP. Her heals are a little underwhelming, but her support, I would say, is a little overwhelming for that content. She's really, really good at it. So pairing her like with a Constance, for example, in PvP is really nasty. She totally is functional. I know I promised you guys the video. Just with all the new stuff they keep throwing at us, I can't stay on top of my giant stack of guides and stuff to come. But she is functional for 120k in Semra Apocalypse 2, which is great. We do think they're adding Apocalypse 3 eventually, so you're probably going to want her for one of your teams. So to me, that bumped her up in value from B to A, and she's new. So this is kind of where I'm taking into consideration what this banner is. And to me, it should help you fill out your roster and target key heroes you're missing. So that gave her a little bump in value, in my opinion. Valeria used to be good at like everything. She's still pretty darn solid. You can make her work in Guild Boss 1. She's just a little fickle and you got to pay attention to the timings. Guild Boss 2, she really doesn't work at all. She can help you progress with some stuff. She's okay in Void Rift. But the main thing is like single target arena. She is insane to this day. She's still so good. Not the tippy top, but one tick below that. Just fantastic. Running her either as Nightmare or Chaos is great. And then she's the best at her job by far in Void Rift Epilogue Stage 6, in my opinion, and then without a doubt in Gear Raid 5, aka Gear Dungeon 2. She's just so good at that. Zarus is phenomenal in AoE Arena. I love him there. You can even use him on anti-air. He's very fun. He's kind of a cheat code depending on the comps you're going up against. It's very cool. He's an amazing cycling unit for AoE damage. And he, again, is borderline not niche, but I didn't think he was good enough for the row above. But phenomenal in Gear Raid 1, phenomenal in Gear Raid 2, can even help you progress early on a young account in Gear Raid 3. Very nice in PvP, specifically AoE, and then okay, solid in anti-air. A lot of potential with Zarus, a hero I really like, but more of a specific niche hero. So he got that to the side. And then Xena, kind of another definition of this category. For what she does, there's nothing better, but you have to constantly cycle her on and off the field, and there's not a lot of content you need to do that. But if you need like an extra cycling DPS for Guild Boss 1, she's like the best option in the game. For Gear Raid 5, that middle row, she is the best option in the game. You can even use her in a couple cheesy things in stuff like Single Target Arena or AoE Arena. But all in all, it's really those main two places. I could see her getting more and more relevant as we get more content in this game. But for now, she's just supremely powerful, but supremely specific. Now, we got two more categories. These we can go through really fast. Great, but common. Only 5 heroes here. Essentially, these are all common bucket heroes. So I think in general, do you really want to use this banner to target heroes that aren't rare? Overall, I'd say probably not. A perfect example of this is Broke here. So if we're talking about quality, Broke here is an S+ hero. He's a top 3 tank in the game, top 4 tank. For normal, just tanking stuff out and nothing else. He might be the single best, or him and Cyrus. He's really good in a lot of things. Incredible on Guild Wars defense. He's going to help you with anything you need a tank for in the way you progress through the game in different gear raids, Void Rifts, stuff like that. He can even help you a lot with some mitigation in Guild Boss 2 if you don't have like the super meta units. I love him, but at the end of the day, it's like he's like a common hero. He gets raid ups all the time. Are you really going to select Broke here? Kind of no. And that's how I feel about this whole group, right? Cerberus, he's a little niche too, but he is really strong for what he needs to do. But Cerberus, you can get him from your Ancients, you can get him from your Divines, you can get him from your Rares. He seems to drop a lot. We know he's common bucket. You're not going to be hunting him. I don't think it's a good idea. Glacius, incredibly underrated, excellent single target, just like Nocturne, who we have 2 to the right of him. But again, they're common bucket heroes. They're strong. Their faction's not perfect for a lot of content. There's no reason you should be seeking them out. Then finally, Helga. She's incredible as a stunner, but I think Sung Wukong is going to make her so much less relevant. So since almost everyone's going to get him, if you need her for Guild Boss 2, it's definitely cool. I'm still using her at least until the Monkey Boy comes. but you know, her damage is pretty limited. It's not as bad as people say, but it's definitely not super special. The crowd control, there's no real good way to use it right now. I could see maybe her emerging in Guild Wars with the right map, the right couple changes. Maybe you get that Esotericist faction exclusive gear on her. But overall, these are like definitely high quality heroes, but not ones I think you should be seeking out, and they're all common bucket. And then finally, let's reveal the last. These are our good heroes. I couldn't think of another way to describe it. These heroes are like not as bad as the Only for Nascent, but you shouldn't be targeting any of them. We've got Ares, Aelin, Ezrein, Crowdor, Regulus, Sadie, and Trusk. You guys know Trusk is one of my favorite tanks in the game, but for now, that's kind of all he is. He can do a little DPS, but he's kind of just a great tank if you're running Esotericist. Sadie can help you with an off-meta way to clear Gear Raid 2, but why not just use the Volca Polka? Shout out to New Name. Then we got Regulus. He's a great tank, but you know, he's not broke here. And unless you're running specific kind of Guild Wars defenses, you'll kind of never use him again once you reach a certain point in this game. Crowdor, phenomenal for tank codex. Overall, just a solid tank. He's got a new passive that helps all the Northerner units. So that's fun, but it's not enough. Ezrein, phenomenal healer for Guild Wars. I use him there. That's kind of what I see him as a limited to for now. If we get more of that content where they neutralize all your stats and everything, Ezrein's really good for that. Aside from that, he's just like a pretty good healer. Aelin, again, pretty good healer, amazing in healer codex. She has a little bit of damage mitigation, so if you don't have Pharisee, she's fun, but you're not picking her for this banner. And then Ares, excellent defense break, potential to grow with the game, but as of now, he's just a good unit, nothing more than that. So basically, I don't think you should be picking any of those heroes. And I'll actually take myself away for a second in case you want to take a screenshot. I don't think you should take any of these heroes if they're not on the top 3 lines, or with a couple specific exceptions of like you need Pharisee, right? Or maybe you're missing Phineas and you really want him, but he's new, so you didn't get him. Or Tallulah, and she's new and you didn't get her. So let me actually talk about what I'm thinking of going for. If we go down this list through all these tiers, the first time I hit a hero personally I don't have is actually going to be Tallulah. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I have an A1 Elwyn, so I'm thinking maybe I'll go for Awakenings there. Funny enough, I have A1 Elwyn, and I've never pulled Elwyn once. I got Elwyn from when I cleared all stage 18 on Gear Raid 1, 2, and 3. She was my reward hero, and then I bought her stone from the Awakening Stone shop by like when you sell off your units. So I have her A1. Her A3 is awesome, and it's going to be huge if and when Apocalypse 3 comes. So I'm kind of deciding between that or snagging Tallulah, who I'm also going to need when Apocalypse 3 comes. With Tallulah, I think she is common bucket. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know yet. So I can't decide if I should go for this. Let me know. That's the decision I am down to. But for all of you guys that need help, please pick one of these top 3 if you don't have them. Please pick Elwyn if you don't have her. And then after that, pick one of these top 3 rows unless you need something very specific, like you have everything else, but you want Phineas for your Infernal comps, or you're just stuck on Gear Dungeon 1, Gear Raid 4, so you need Artemis, or you really want to burst through on Guild Boss 2 for Pharisee, for example. You can kind of think it all out. I tried to be really thorough, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Again, this was a ton of work, so if you appreciate it, please do subscribe to the channel. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.